Hey, what is going on, everybody? Welcome to Upkick MMA, episode 181. I am Brendan. Cage Warriors 144. We are going to go over that. Dominique Wooding taking on Michele Martignoni. If I mess up some of these Italian names, I apologize. It is not my first language, and I know they have some flair to them, so I might screw some of them up. But we're going to cover the main card here. Carlo Pedersoli, Madars, Fleminas. Oh boy, Jefferson, DeFilippis versus Hazan. We're going to cover all the main card here. Before we get started, if you're new to the channel, if you like MMA, you like podcasts about MMA, subscribe to the channel so you know the next video is coming out. I cover the UFC, Bellator, PFL, 1FC sometimes, and when there's nothing going on, I'll explore stuff like this, like Cage Warriors. It's not the first Cage Warriors I've watched, but I really enjoyed it. So without further ado, let's get going here. All right, Michele Martignoni taking on Dominique Wooding for the belt, for the bantamweight championship here. So, this fight was a banger. It's fun to watch, man. Really fun to watch. I enjoyed it quite a bit. I also really did like Paddy Pimblett on commentary. And side note, the Italians did really well in Italy. It's okay. Hold on. So Bellator. Okay. The UFC, when they go to different countries or it's usually different countries or it's different states, but they try to load the card with people from that country, locals, for a lot of reasons, but whatever. They do it. There's nothing wrong with that. I don't want to dismiss it. I'm just saying they do it. Bellator also does that. Just because you bring in people from the local area doesn't mean necessarily they're all going to win. And then Bellator, they kind of try to give them favorable matchups, I feel like, so that they get the local crowd kind of up and it makes it exciting. I don't know if this is what happened here, especially not in the main event. I don't think they set this guy up just to win here because Wooding was the champ. And I mean, what do you want him to do? They fought for the title here, so it's not like they could tailor make this matchup for him. Anyway, the Italians went 8-0. Dominique Wooding, he started the fight a little slow. Wooding landed a really good left hand that threw Martignoni off balance. This was in the first round. There was a really close first round, and I would lean towards Wooding for the damaging shots that he did. So I had it 10-9. And this first round, it was back and forth a little bit. Also, if you're looking for a specific fight, the timestamps are down below. If you're looking for a specific fight from the event, I'll break it down. Look down there. Wooding landed that left hand in that first round, like I said, and I think he took it with the damage. Michele landed a huge right hand and then went reckless in the second round and got caught himself and got staggered. A ton of blood with that. Dude, when he got caught, Wooding busted up Martignoni's nose so bad, it was bleeding the entire fight. And it was just like leaking the whole fight nonstop. I think his nose is probably broken. Wooding was taking his time, picking his shots. Michele not quite firing hard shots. He did land a big right hand and got a takedown, landing elbows on the ground. And with the way, so this second round, with the way that it ended, you could make an argument that Michele could have taken it. I'll say Martignoni because I can actually pronounce that one. And I don't want to disrespect him by mispronouncing his name. You could make the argument that he could have taken it because of getting on top, landing the ground and pound, but I just don't feel like he did enough to outweigh basically getting finished in this second round. Early on, Wooding had him down, man. He hurt him bad, and he was seconds away from ending that second round. But I still had Wooding taking the second round here. I had it 20-18, and yeah, you could, if you gave it to Martignoni, I could see it, but I just didn't have it that way. I really didn't. This third round, Michele landed a big right hook, and it's kind of crazy because Wooding was just eating them. And then he clinched, and Martignoni clinches at the end of the round, landing an elbow and a left hook. I gave this round to Martignoni. He did more. He avoided some of those big shots from Wooding. He landed some big shots of his own, landing these big looping hooks that Wooding just ate somehow. And to end this third round, you could tell that the tide was kind of changing. It was kind of shifting in favor of Martignoni. And then in this fourth round, Michele gets a takedown early. I said I would say Martignoni gets the takedown early, and not a ton of damage, but he had so much time on top. Martignoni won this round for sure. I had it even 38-38 going into. Wait, how did I have it 38-38? What an idiot. Did I screw up? 20-18, then 29-28, and 38-38. That doesn't add up. What did I do wrong? Guys, tell me what I did wrong. Oh my goodness. Oh, this was the third round. Yeah, wait, no, fourth round. No, I had, oh, good grief. This is after the fourth round, not the third round. Good, I don't know what is going on with my brain. Sorry. I had Martignoni winning this round for sure. So 38-38 going into the last round. So I had it even, and it really came down to this last round. Martignoni landed a right hand and went for a flying knee and then got a takedown. He was still bleeding like crazy. His nose was just, like I said, it was just leaking the entire fight. Every time he would move position, like in the cage, that spot would be just have pool like a puddle of blood, right? And Martignoni just fucking worked harder. He just worked harder, nonstop working. Everybody went crazy. Dude, the Italians went nuts. I had him winning the fight 48-47. One of the judges had it 49-46. I didn't see it that way, but that's okay. Like I said, there was that second round. You can maybe give it to him. Dude, holy shit. Or maybe the first round. I don't know. But anyway, Martignoni just worked. You could tell there was something in the air. Like, there really was. Something was just driving him forward. I don't know if it took something out of Wooding. I don't know if it really did give Martignoni that extra energy or whatever. I don't know what it was, but there was just something driving him that was not, I don't want to say it wasn't human. It wasn't like that crazy of a performance. It like he was just fighting through the tons of damage or anything like that. He just refused to let off the gas. And yeah, there were some moments where he sat on top and didn't do a ton of damage, but he refused to let Wooding do anything, man. And he just came out there and took the belt. He took it. He did what he had to do. I had it 48-47. Great win for him. Holy shit. That was an exciting fight too. A real banger of a fight. I was not delightfully surprised. I liked it. All right, Carlo Pedersoli taking on Madars Fleminas. The Latvian Express. Fun name. This fight was interesting because Carlo ends up getting the second round finish. He gets a submission in the second round here. But if you watch the fight, they traded really hard with body kicks, with Carlo pressuring forward. Lots of pausing and posturing in this first round. Carlo ended the round with a takedown after a slapping head kick. I think that sealed it for him. But the commentary team didn't agree with me. I had him winning that first round. Now, in the second round, Madars was just like, okay, I got to move forward. So he moves forward, very aggressive. Carlo got another takedown using the body lock, but didn't get anything from it. Then Madars ends up getting the guillotine and putting him in a tight guillotine, getting position. Carlo had the back for a second after scrambling around, gets the back, and then gets swept. Madars gets on top and then works his way to mount. Then Carlo regains guard and reversed again. Dude, Carlo got the back again. It looked like Madars was looking to give him the back because he slipped off so easy the first time, but he fucked up because he let him get the body triangle and then got the rear naked choke. The place went absolutely bananas. They just went crazy. It was so imagine this was the seventh Italian on the card. So they're already high from the six wins before, and now another guy gets not necessarily a comeback finish, but he was losing this second round. He was in bad positions. He wasn't doing a ton of damage, and it looked like he was not out of his depth, but he wasn't as effective on the ground, and it looked like he was, Madars was kind of gonna win this fight on the ground in the second round. he was the one going for the submission. He was the one controlling the ground. He was the one getting the sweep, and then he gets swept, and dude, Pedersoli finishes him. It was fucking crazy. Fun fight. All right, Dylan Hazan taking on Jefferson DeFilippis. This fight was weird because Hazan is a crazy prospect. He's 8-0. It was 8-0 coming into this. He ends up getting the finish. I didn't feel... Okay, so Philippis took this fight on short notice because I think... Did Hazan miss weight? Yeah, Hazan missed weight. So Jefferson comes in on short notice to take on Dylan, and they're both Italian, so that's kind of cheating. So they're both Italian, so an Italian was going to win this fight regardless. But Hazan accidentally pulled his shorts off getting ready for this fight, and he didn't even react. I thought that was kind of awesome. Not the fact that he pantsed himself, the fact that he just like rips his warm-up pants on, and then his shorts come off and doesn't even react to it. The guy looked like so cracked out that he didn't even care. Jefferson forgot to give a shit like he was supposed to lose. Someone forgot to tell him. And he was throwing hard. Hazan was winging punches and running in like an idiot. I don't know what the plan was, except be frenetic and crazy and hopefully get a finish early. He could have been caught, and the way he was fighting, that's not a recipe for success going forward, especially against tougher competition. And Hazan did eventually get the takedown against the cage, started laying down some crazy ground and pounds, and then he gets the finish there, and he really dude, you could tell that he wanted to get an exciting finish, and he wanted to get out of there early. It's just, when you see a fighter do that kind of stuff, when I see a fighter do that kind of stuff, it always gives me pause, right? It's because, like I said, it's not a recipe for long-term success. Seeing a guy out there frenetic and crazy and high energy and constantly jittery and moving around like that, it doesn't mean that he can't dial it back a little bit and use it in spurts. It's just, when you move like that, it's, playing with fire quite a bit, because you tend to be so aggressive that you forget your defense, and you're not as defensively responsible, and you tend to get caught a little bit more in those crazy exchanges. And he didn't get caught here. He clearly dominated and won and did everything he was supposed to do. But against the guy he was supposed to beat in a position like this, I think, it could have cost him a lot. Luckily, it didn't. I'm not armchair quarterbacking here. I said it while it was going on. It's just not it's hard to shit on the guy. I'm not shitting on the guy, right? I'm not shitting on the guy for being excited and all this stuff. I have pause because I don't like that. All right, Awa Sow versus Jasmine Favero. Like I said, I'm sorry in advance if I mispronounce some of these names. Favero coming into this was 1-0, and and Awa was 1-1. Relatively inexperienced pro fighters here. So with a double, got the double unders early against the cage, and she was controlling the clinch, but Favero works her way out of that to under overs, and then got a head toss takedown, and she ends up so whenever you do a head toss like that, where you grab the head and you flip them forward, you have to quickly turn your body, because technically your opponent that you just threw on the ground has your back. So if they wrap their legs around you, even though you're holding onto their head, they can have back control, and if they slip out of that, which is likely, they're going to get your back, and now you're in a bad position. That's why you don't see a lot of this at the highest level, especially in men's MMA. Now, in female MMA, you see this all the time. It's one of the most common things that I see that I can't stand, because it's not a good position to be in. It's not a good technique, because you're at a huge disadvantage when it goes to the ground, and when you fight somebody who has any wherewithal on the ground, they're going to be able to take advantage of what I consider a mistake. Now, if that is your bread and butter, and you easily transition into mount, and you switch your hips over real quick and flip and face your opponent, maybe you can get away with it at the highest level, but you just don't see it in men's MMA. And the reason I'm comparing the two, because obviously this is, not the highest level. It's Cage Warriors, and they were still good. Like, these fights were still good, right? Especially at the upper tier in Cage Warriors. We're talking about guys who are on the verge of going to the UFC. Obviously, Paddy Pimblett came from Cage Warriors. Who else came from Cage Warriors? I think Conor McGregor came from Cage Warriors as well. I know Michael Bisping came from Cage Warriors. So it's like it's a step, and obviously this is on UFC Fight Pass. So they're in. They're a close tie with the UFC now, and they've had a lot of history with them as far as fighters coming over. So I just wanted to address that real quick. But the reason I mention it when I'm comparing it to female MMA to male MMA, it's that male MMA has been around for longer. So it's we've whittled down the effective techniques a little bit better. I say we, like I'm in there doing the shit. But the sport itself has whittled down the effective techniques, right? It's been around long enough now to where you see, how do I say this? You see the less effective things kind of fall by the wayside over time, right? It's natural selection, right? It's, when they talk about the evolution of a sport, it's literally happening. It's happened before our eyes, and it's been happening long enough. See, the thing about evolution in general, both, god dang, yard work, pollen. The thing about evolution is it takes time, both in, like when you're talking about natural selection when it comes to biology over time, or if you're talking about it in a sport. Evolution takes time because you have to naturally select for traits, or in this case, techniques. So over time, pick a technique, right? The head kick. Is that still effective? Obviously, it happens. The jab, very effective, still effective. So that has stayed in there. The going for arm bars, like jiu-jitsu is an excellent example. Striking maybe, but I think jiu-jitsu is an excellent example because we see techniques now that used to be very effective, but they don't land as much now, especially in men's MMA, like triangles from the bottom. There are a few fighters who excel at them and are so good and high level at that they can do that. But generally speaking, you're not seeing them locked up as much because people know how to defend against them, right? You press into your opponent, you don't pull out, and you don't give them that position. You know how to defend. You know how to not let them to even get in that position to begin with. Arm bars. Arm bars used to happen, especially, I say Ronda Rousey, but that's not men's MMA. Arm bars, I don't know if they necessarily were more common, but people used to attempt them more. And the defense was like people knew how to defend against them kind of when they're happening in the lead up a little bit, but people don't attempt them as much because it's a little bit of a risky technique because you often lose position. And when you lose position, especially from the bottom, you could be screwed for the rest of the round. You could lose that round just for going for that submission. And if you're on the top, especially in mount, it's better probably just to lay down a little bit of ground and pound and keep that mount position because you're scoring points and winning that round. Now, you could go for the finish and go for that armbar, but you're probably going to lose position. So I bring all those techniques in, and I try to mention a few, so I want to talk about the head toss, right? The headlock toss. We don't see it at all, pretty much in men's MMA. And that's because it's not an effective technique. Even people at the highest level, who maybe that's their bread and butter, they just don't, like, nobody's attempting that anymore because it's such a bad technique. Now, it might work in judo because you get points for a takedown, but in MMA, a takedown is only worth that itself. It's only worth control time, and that takedown doesn't score anything past that. You have to do something afterwards, and you're not in a good position to do anything afterwards with that head toss. So we don't see it a lot in men's MMA. Now, she was able to get a straight armbar from this position where her back was basically taken. It was just really inexperience on Sow's part. And Jasmine was able to get the finish there. It's just, you never see that you don't see that. Now, you will see awkward submissions, and you'll see like a buggy choke attempt or the twister, like newer techniques or different stuff, awkward positions, people looking for submissions where they often don't happen. You'll see someone like Alexei Oleinik, who excelled in the Ezekiel choke, even when he was mounted. It's not a common submission that people attempt because it's very dangerous and you can be in a bad position. So you will still see submissions and techniques that aren't necessarily effective across the board, but someone can excel at them and they're confident in them. But we saw what happened with Alexei Oleinik with a guy in Ilir Latifi who was able to grapple with him and dominate him on the ground and not put himself in bad positions. And Oleinik wasn't even able to really get a submission attempt because of that. So I do all this aside because when you're watching a fight, it really speaks to the level of MMA that these fighters are at collectively. When you're seeing, even at the highest level in certain weight divisions in the UFC for the female divisions, right? 135, 145, sometimes at 125. You're seeing the head toss being used, and it kind of speaks to the level of the level and the evolution of the sport. So I feel like this technique will hopefully weed its way out. But if it still exists in 10 years, then we know that unless there's some sort of advancement, right? Like there's some technique that comes after that, or somebody invents something that works really well. I think it's going to be whittled out eventually, and we'll see what happens. But that's what I mean that's why I went on this aside, because I feel like it's a relic of a bygone era. All right, Micol de Segni taking on Bryony Tyrell. This was probably the clunkiest of all the fights on the card, and it was the opener for the main card, so I understand it. This wasn't the highest level of competition. You can kind of tell. Segni with snapping leg kicks. Both women did fine, right? This is, they weren't totally inexperienced. Segni with snapping leg kicks, both women holding their head really up high, not a lot of head movement with the strikes. Tyrell looked uncomfortable on the feet. Even with Segni wading in, right? Just walking forward with her head up and her hands kind of down. She was the one landing more damage on the feet. She didn't get caught a lot, didn't take a lot of punishment, and wasn't punished for those mistakes. So 10-9 for her in that first round. Tyrell finally got it to the ground, and nothing happened in the second round. Right back up. Kicks to the body and the legs from Segni they started to add up in the second round. Closer round with more shots landing from Tyrell, just not enough damage from her. Segni did more damage, especially with those kicks and showing no respect for the punches coming back to her. Tyrell could have used a lot more leg kicks because Segni obviously wasn't going for the takedown. There was no threat of the takedown. Tyrell could have landed some of those kicks and been safe throwing them to add up a little damage. That's okay. I had it 20-18 for Segni, and then this last round, closer round with both women getting tired, and then Tyrell landing more effectively in the previous rounds. I still lean towards Segni. I think one of the judges ended up giving it to Tyrell. I'm okay with that as well, but I really did feel like Segni won this fight hands down. Okay, that is it. If you're looking, I covered if you want to stop by, try to get this camera to refocus here. If you're looking for the boxing event, I did cover that from Showtime Championship Boxing. That's in the last video. There was no UFC this weekend. There's no Bellator. There's no anything else. So I, went over to Cage Warriors. I want to see how that panned out, and I really enjoyed it. Something that I, in the future, will be watching more often than I have. So thank you guys so much for stopping by. If you made it this far in this video of some dingaling covering Cage Warriors, please subscribe to the channel because you'll like the other stuff I put out. You'll know when my next videos are coming out. I do round-by-round breakdowns of the fights, 2 or 3 videos every single week. And I really love MMA. I love talking about MMA. So comment down below. Let me know what you thought. Are you going to go watch this? I think especially the main event. If you didn't watch Cage Warriors 144, go watch the main event at least. It's worth your time. It's really exciting, and I do like their production value. Everything feels very professional over there. It looks really good. So thank you guys so much for stopping by. Thank you for your time. I hope you guys have an amazing week, and I love y'all.